Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome. As we welcome in, I see a Svarim and a china cabinet, but I'm not sure who this is. The camera isn't focused well. Stephen Holtzman, Marshall Castle, Yitzi Fuchs, Nachman Chapler, A.B. Spry, Dr. Block, Aaron Swade, Yitzi Muller, Yitzi Padower, Rabbi Kranz, Menachem Umansky, Michal, Matthew Guy, Irving Fishbaum, Yeshua Shmuel Eisberg, Eddie Chazan, Mark Frankel, Naftali Javelin, Ilya Shutman, David Helfgott. Here in Shul, we have a really beautiful crowd here tonight. Saba is here, Gedalia is here, Reb Herbst is here, Ruvain Shannet, Rich Lenner, Reb Kramer, Reb Krause, Berish Gesseman, Reb Blumenfeld, for a beautiful minyan, which is wonderful. Sandy Grunfeld has just joined us on Facebook. We are holding on the bottom of Daf Lamed Amid Beis, the bottom line, and the Gemara says, "Ini, is it so that Rav Huna holds that the halacha is that you could be mafkir a person's nuisance, but the ein moirin came, but we don't instruct people that they could take the nuisance in the Rishus Harabim? Well, Rav Huna afkir chushlei, a person left in the Rishus Harabim peeled barley, and Rav Huna was mafkir it. And Rav Ada Barava after slikusta, he left the date, the residual pulp of date somebody left in the Rishus Harabim, and he was mafkir it. So Bishlam Ravada Barava Kishmaitze, that's consistent because Ravada Barava says that we can halacha umarikain. Ella Ravuna Lema Hodabe, did Ravuna retract from his position? So says the Gemara, no, Hano Musrin Havo. Those people were warned several times, and therefore, since they were warned several times, so over here Rav Huna says, so then you could tell people to take the nuisance there, even though normally halacha ve'ein meirin came, but if the guy is, a multiple offender, then even Rav Huna agrees that the nuisance can be taken from the Rishus Harabim. And now we start the new Mishnah, 3 lines from the top, and I am guilty of not saying our dedicators. In Ganson ignored everything. I have so many things going on over here. So Steve Holtzman asked us to learn for Chana Devorabas. Stephen Holtzman, Chana Devorabas, Rabbi Yisrael Eliezer, HaKayin, Yeshama should have an aliyah. We also learned for David ben Yekusiel, that's Reb Khan, our Koyen's father, on his 32nd yard site. A.B. Spry has dedicated this Masechta for the safety of the soldiers and for the recovery of the hostages and the safety of Klal Yisrael. I mean, 3 missiles hit Sderot, one hit a shul. I mean, the miracle of the existence of Sderot, that live missiles hit it all the time. The 3 missiles hit Sderot, there wasn't one human injury. I mean, if that's not a miracle, I mean, it's yeah. And for Issa Zev ben Yuta, safety of Issa Zev ben Yuta, with Shimon Klein, Nishmas Asher Anshel ben Yehuda, Gittel Bas Shimon Pinchas, Irving Fishbaum for Issa ben Rezel, for my Shver Avigdai ben Rivka, and Meir ben Chayesara. They should have Refu Shalema B'Sech Shachar Yisrael. New Mishnah, very interesting Mishnah, Shnei Kadorin, you have 2 potters. Now, this is not Harry Potter, it's Marshall Potter. Now, Marshall is walking with his pots in the Rishus Harabim, and it's a new meaning of a potzer. So, Shnei Kadorin, Shayamahalchin Ze'achar Zeh, V'niskal Harishin, and Marshall trips, v'nafal, and he falls. And v'niskal hasheni berishin. And what happens is that Abi trips over Marshall and gets damaged. So Harishin chayev b'niskei sheni. As you can imagine, Marshall is chayev for the damage to Abi. Now we'll see. We'll see. It was a very good question that Perish asks. For what damage? The damage of his body or the damage of his utensils? Right? So now, Amar Reb Yochanan. So why should, first of all, although nobody would think of asking this question, why should Marshall be chayiv? Right? So Amar Reb Yochanan, like Tema Masnisim Reb Meiri, the Amar Niskel Peisheo. Don't say that our Mishnah is going according to Reb Meir that says tripping is considered negligence, and that's why the chayiv. Elul afil Rabbanan, it's even going according to Rabbanan the Imrei Einisu. You can't help. You can't protect yourself from stumbling or potter. And for stumbling, Marshall would be potter. B'hacha chayiv, why? Because Marshall, excuse the expression, continued laying down in the street like a glump, like a geilim. Right? So, and that's why he's chayiv. Hacha chayiv shehoya loy lamid, he should have gotten up. And he didn't get up, and Abi tripped on him. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says, "Afilu tema loy lamad." Even if Marshall didn't have time to get up, but he should have warned Abi, Abi, or what's your name? I'm here on the floor. Be careful, right? Hayu loy lahazir v'lo yizir. He should have warned Abi, and he didn't warn him. Rabbi Yochanan says, look, if he didn't have time to get up, that means he's still, stunned. You fall on the ground, there's a time that you're a little perplexed. You're a little, you're not, like Saba said, you're marshaled. You're not all there. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Kaven the loy lamaid, if he didn't have the chance to get up, loy lahazir, then we don't mun him that he should have warned Abi. Deterred because his wits are not about him yet, right? He's a little, confounded, tzamished. Tanan. So now we're going to learn a Mishnah to try to figure this out. If Marshall was walking in front with a beam across his shoulder, and behind him Abi was walking with an expensive barrel. If Abi went into Marshall's beam and broke his expensive barrel, potter. Abi, watch where you're going. Right? However, v'im omad, if Marshall suddenly stopped, then Bal Karachayim, then Marshall is chayim. What are you stopping in the street for? He doesn't have brake lights, so how would Abi know that he was going to stop? So the Gemara says, my lav she'omad l'kasef, that Marshall stopped in order to re-shoulder the burden. De'urchehu. And why do we say then that Marshall is chayiv? V'ketani chayiv dehavalei lahazer. He should have called back, I'm stopping. Says Merloi. Kishamad lafush. When he stands to rest. Now you don't stop in middle of the Rishus Harabim to rest. It's a busy thoroughfare. You don't stop in order to rest. If you want to rest, you go to the side. That's why they have a simta. That's why they have a side street. But what if he just stopped for a second to shoulder it? What, potter? So then Aditani say for if he calls back to Abi, stand, potter. So we should make a chiluk, lift like v'lisnei b'dida. We should make a chiluk in this case itself. The only time he's chayiv is where he stops to rest. But if he stops momentarily in order to shoulder the burden, potter. Says, you're right, that's true. But Hakamash Malan, the Afal Gav the Amud Lafish, even if he stopped entirely to rest, Ki Kamalay the Bal Kavius Amaid, if he calls back to Abi, I'm stopping, Potter, he's Potter. Now, the plot is going to thicken over here. Oh, we welcome in. We have a lot of people that joined us. Jacob Barabin, Avram Alan Weissman, Richard Rosenzweig. Richard, we need you on Zoom over here. Stephen Ganak, and Shimon Klein has come in, Nachman Chapler, Shelley Zeitlin, Yeshua Shmuel Eisenberg, we have a Pesach Sigelman, Pesach. You hear from Mariv. We need, I got to tell them to put crazy glue on your seat.
So the person in the back has no obligation to keep his eyes open where he's going?
It's not a question of keeping his eyes. It's a single file road. He doesn't know that you're going to stop.
I would think people would stop somewhere along the way to re-shoulder or...
Reshouldering, we said, is okay.
Or if they're carrying a big load, just the rest of the...
You got to go to the side. Got to go to the side. I mean, it's amazing how we have to teach him the ABCs over here. Huh?
That's why.
That's correct. That's correct. Now, okay. So now let's look. Tojma, Hakadorin, potters, v'hazagogin, glassmakers, sheyimalchem ze'achazeh, niskal harishin. So Marshall trips, v'nafal, he falls, v'niskal hasheni barishin. Then Abi trips over Marshall, and this is a chain reaction. Vashlishi, and then Mark B'Sheni trips over Abi. So Rishon Chayev B'Niskei Sheni. Marshall is Chayev for what he did to Abi. V'Sheni Chayev B'Niskei Shlishi. And Abi is Chayev for what he did to Mark. However, V'Immach Mas Rishon Naflu, which we could understand very readily, if everybody fell because of Marshall, because what happened is that Marshall fell all the way across the street. So although Abi, when he fell, didn't block the street, Marshall did, and therefore Mark fell on Marshall too. So v'imach mas Rishon naflu, so then Rishon chayav b'niskei kulam. Marshall is chayav for everyone, which is, the understandable scenario.
Everybody loves me.
V'im his hiru zeh, but if they had time to warn each other, that means Marshall said to Abi, watch out, and Abi said to Mark, watch out, then Peturin. So the Gemara says, my love, isn't this talking about shelo yahayu lehen lamoid, that there was no time to stand up, but even so, we expect you to be able to warn. And that would be a riot. We don't say that if you don't have time to stand up, then your wits are not about you as of yet. Says Marloi, shahayu lehem lamoid, where they did have time to stand up, avalo yahayu lehem lamoid my potter. So then why don't you say that? Ihachi aditani, say for him, his Hebrew says that potter, if they warn one another, it's potter. Lift like v'lisnei b'dida. Make a chilik b'amed v'amumum shayalem lamad, that they had time to stand up. Avaloy hayalem lamad, but if they didn't have time to stand up yet, peturin, because niskal is la p'sheyahu, and therefore they would be potter. Says, well, that's true. But it wants to tell you a different chiddush, that even if you had time to stand up, but if you warned the person, you're potter. Even if you had time to stand up, ki is hiru zeh, when you warn one another, peturim. Now, I want to schmooze a little bit with you before we go further. Chapsach schmooze. All we've been saying is that Marshall is chayiv. Now, everybody is comfortable with that. But the question is, what is Marshall chayiv with? And in the multiple case where Marshall is chayiv and Abi is chayiv, what are they chayiv with? Now, there's quite a few variables over here. The first question is, when Abi gets damaged, Abi's body could be damaged, and his pots could be damaged. Is Marshal Chayiv both for his body and his pots, or only for his body? Also, what's doing the damage? Is Marshal doing the damage, or is Marshal's utensils doing the damage? So there's a lot of ambiguity over here. And now, because I see that Rich is mesmerized, now I'll tell you a little bit of what's involved. You see, if the damage is, let's say AB trips over Marshall, and then Rich trips over AB. I mean, not Rich, Mark. Mark trips over AB. If AB should be considered a bar, an obstacle, then if Mark breaks his glassware, bar is not chayiv in kalim. Remember we said shar v'lo adam chamar v'lo kalim. So then it would only be if Mark hurts himself. But if Richards, if the glass breaks, then AB wouldn't be chayiv if it's bar, right? Because bar is not chayiv for kalim. So let's see. This is how it gets a little bit tricky now. A little bit, yeah.
Shor below Adam. I'm confused now. When is the Adam? When you chayiv for Adam, it's shor below Adam.
Shor below Adam is you only chayiv if the man gets injured, but if he dies in the bar, you're not chayiv.
They're not chayiv.
Right. What?
So for death, he's potter, but
Right.
for injury, he's
Right. He's just an echo. It's okay. Sabasco. Now. So now that we schmoozed a little bit, that you see that there's some intricacies involved. So let's see how the Gemara is going to illuminate us. Amar Rava, Rishon Chayiv b'niskei sheni. Marshall, remember the case is Marshall is walking, he trips, AB trips over him, and then Mark trips over AB. So Rishon Chayiv b'niskei sheni, Marshall is chayiv for the damage that he did to AB. Bein b'niskei gufay, bein b'niskei mamonai. Whether AB hurts his body, whether his glass breaks. Sheni, AB, that he's responsible for Mark, chayiv b'niskei shlishi, he's chayiv for the damages to Mark, b'niskei gufa, if Mark hurt himself, avaloi b'niskei mamonai, not if Mark's utensils are damaged. So the Gemara says, mamanav shach, iniskel peishayahu, if stumbling is considered negligence, then sheni nami l'chayiv, then AB should also be chayiv across the board. Iniskel la peishayahu, and if stumbling is not negligence, afilu rishon nami lipater, even if the first one should be exempt too. So now, as we turn the page, it's always good to turn the page around what is it? We're only 19 minutes in the shir, and we're already turning the page with a Mishnah in sight. That's very good. It bodes well for the chok. We're going to learn a chok right after the shir. We're going to learn a chok. It's a. On the one hand, it's an easier chok because it's a Friday chok. Friday chok is 5 instead of 8. Although it is a little bit challenging because the Mishnayos is the 7th parak of Masechtas Parah, which is 12 Mishnayos of fascinating laws of the Parah Aduma. It's so interesting that the Arizal, he made the chok for the working man, and he wanted the working man to have once a week on Friday a connection to Tumah V'Tara. It's really interesting. Anyway, the Gemara says, Rishain Vadei Pesheyahu. There's no question about it. We catch the drift. There's no question about it that Marshall is definitely negligent. There's no question about it. Because stumbling while you're walking, that's considered negligence. And therefore, since he's negligent, he's chayiv for whether now see that's what happens. I'm rushing. We have to rewind the tape. It's very tricky. Let's go back to 4 lines from the bottom of Lamed Aleph Amud Aleph. There's a little nuance over here. There's a little nuance over here. I told you there's different variables. There's a variable of what's being damaged. But there's also a variable of what's doing the damage. When Marshall stumbles and hurts Abi, did he hurt Abi or did his pots hurt Abi? And then when Abi stumbles, did he hurt Mark or did his pots hurt Mark? This is another variable. So that's the first thing we're looking at. That's the first thing we're looking at. Amar Rava again. Rishon chayiv b'niskei sheni. Marshall is chayiv to the damages that he did to Abi. Bein b'niskei gufay, whether he hurt him with his body, bein b'niskei mamayna, or he hurt him with his pots. Sheni chayiv b'niskei shlishi. Abi is chayiv for the damage he did to Mark b'niskei gufay, if he hit him with his body. Avaloi b'niskei mamayna, but not with his pots. So the Gemara says mamanavshach. Iniskal pesheyu, if it's considered stumbling as a negligent, sheni nami l'chayiv. If stumbling is not negligence, then afilu risha nami lifter. Even Marshall should be potter. So the Gemara says no. Chas v'shalom, you should think that Marshall is potter. Rishain vadai pesheyu. I mean the Gemara. The Gemara is amazing. They saw through the future. Rishain vadai pesheyu. Marshall, because he didn't stumble on anything, he just stumbled. That's considered negligent, and therefore he's chayiv whether the damage was caused by his body, whether the damage was caused by his pots. You got that? That's now this means, what does it mean? Obviously, it doesn't mean if the damage was caused by the pots while he was carrying it, because that's considered just an extension of his body. It means that if he stumbles and his pots fall on the ground, and then Abi gets damaged by the pots, so then since Marshall was negligent in the pots being there, so then it's considered his bar, so he's chayiv for his bar as well. So why? Now, Shani, Abi, on Mark, Agufay Mechayiv. He's chayiv if he hurt Mark with his body. Why? Because even though, look, he can't help it, he stumbled on Marshall, but he had time to get up. And he didn't get up. But what about his pots? His pots fell because of the fact that he tripped on Marshall. Oh, says the Gemara, I'm a minor potter. Why? The Amalei Hai Bira Lav Anak Rise. I didn't dig this bar. In other words, my pots were there in the Rishis Harabim not because of a fault of mine, and therefore it's not considered my bar, and therefore I'm not chayiv for the pots. And many of the Rishonim say it's talking about where he was mafkir afterwards. He was mafkir the pots. But anyway, that's a whole discussion in the Rishonim. So the Gemara says this explanation doesn't fit. Meisvei, kulan chayoven al niske gufan. Both Marshall and Abi are chayav for the damages of their body. Upeturin al niske mamayna. And they're pater for the damage of their pots. So my lav, doesn't that imply that even Marshall is pater for his pots? My lav afilu rishon, says Malay, levar marishon. No, Marshall, since he stumbled, and niskal pesheyo, the pot is his bar, and he's chayiv for his pots. It means, in the domino effect, it means besides Marshall. Says Gemara kulam ketani. It says everyone. Amaravada barava kulan anizokin. It means all of Marshall's victims, all the ones that got damaged. Says the Gemara, Hi mai, Amrit b'shleima afilu rishon. It means even Marshall is pater for the damage of his pots. Hainu diktani kulan. Eliyamrit levar mirishon. If it means except for Marshall, my kulan, it shouldn't say kulan, it should say lisnei hanizokin. Those that are damaged, they're only chayav for their body and not for the kalim. Ela amarava. And now the Gemara is very, very tricky. This is a very subtle piece of Gemara. Now the Gemara is going to learn it the way I mistakenly explained it when I started. That it's not talking about what's doing the damage, but it's talking about what's getting damaged. Ela amarava, rishon chayev bein beniske gufay desheni, bein bemiske mamoinay desheni. Marshall is chayev whether he damages Abi's body, whether he damages Abi's pots. Why? Because he stumbled, and when he stumbled, when he stumbled, okay. Okay, so here, so Rashi wants to say that it's possible that we're going to hold now that niska lav pesheyo, that stumbling is not considered negligence. I mean, we're all comfortable with that. Yeah, we're all comfortable with stumbling not being a negligence. Right? So then why should Marshall be chayiv? Marshall's chayiv because he didn't get up. He stayed on the floor like a golem. Right? I'm sorry. He stayed on the floor like a marshal, right?
Comfortable.
Right. That's what, Mamish. You really played the part perfectly. It's really wonderful. So anyway, so what happened over here is Marshall fell, and he didn't get up. Elama Rava Rishon Chayiv, Bein Beniske Gufay Desheni, Bein Beniske Mamoinoi Desheni. Whether he caused damage to AB's body, whether he caused damage to AB's pots. Now, we'll learn that AB either stumbled over Marshall when he didn't get up, or his pots broke over Marshall when he didn't get up. Now, since Marshall didn't get up, you're going to learn that the damage that was caused by Marshall was not Niske Bar. Because if it would be Bar is Pater Kalim. So it can't be Bar. Now what? But, huh?
What is it?
Okay, wait. You could give me a minute. We're gonna learn the Gemara. The Gemara is gonna explain it. Now the plot thickens. AB falls, and then Mark falls over him, and we're saying that AB is only chayav for damages to Mark's body, but not to Mark's pots. Right? The sheni chayav beniske shlishi, only beniske gufay, only to the damages to Mark's body, avaloi beniske mamayna, but not to his pots. So asks the Gemara and Rabbi Kranz. There's an asterisk on the bottom. You'll see it says Rabbi Kranz. But my timer, what's the reason? Davale bar. The second one's body, when he falls, is a bar. And a bar is not chayiv on kalim. V'loi matzina bar shechayiv b'yas kalim. Now, why is the first one's body not bar? So here the Gemara is making a chilik between the pshia of Marshall and the pshia of Abi. Marshall tripped on the ground. Therefore, he has more culpability, and when he doesn't get up, he's considered Adam HaMazik. Abi tripped over Marshall, and therefore, when he doesn't get up, he only has a din of a bar. And since he only has a din of a bar, he's going to be chayiv only in Adam, in the injury to Mark, but not in Kalim, not in the injury to Mark's utensils. So the Gemara says, Hani Shmuel, Da'amar kol takala baru. That's good according to Shmuel, who says that any obstacle is bar. El Rav Da'amar I afkare in. It's only if you renounce ownership, Eloi loi, but if you don't renounce ownership, it's not bar, right? And it would have a din of shar. So then Abi should be chayav for the damages, because Abi definitely wasn't mafker himself. Ma'ikalameima. So now the Gemara goes and takes a about face. La'ilam kida amar meikar. We're not talking about the damage done to the other people's property. We're talking about damage done. So in Marshall's case, he's chayav for the damage that's done by him and his property. But Abi is chayav only for the damage that's done by him, but not by his property. La'ilam kidikamer meikar. Yudikashalon Kulon Chayavin. It says that all of them are chayiv only for the damage of their body, but not for damage by their property. Tirgam Ravada Barava Menyumi Kamei Ravina. Here it's talking about Shehusku Kalim Bekalim. Oh, you know when everyone is potter for the damages done by the Kalim, that's talking about it even when Marshall falls and Niskel Pesheyahu, if his pot damages the pots of Abi when they're on the ground, his pots damage the pots of Abi, then even Marshall is going to be potter because his pots that was put there because of his negligence is a bar. But when Abi's kalim break on that bar, Marshall is going to be potter because bar is potter with kalim. Bar is only chayiv on injury to a person or an animal, but not on utensils. So the case where everyone will be potter if damage is done by their utensils, even Marshall, who placed the bar because of his own negligence, because Niskal Pesheyahu, he'll be potter if his pot was lying on the ground that he placed because of his negligence. But Abi's pot broke on that pot, he'll be potter because since his kalim is a bar is potter on kalim. Now, the Mishnah said, Amar Mar, Imachmas Rishon Naflu, if Mark also fell, not because of Abi, but because of Marshall, then Marshall is chai for both Abi and Mark. Rishon chai ben iskei kula, Marshall is chai for everything. It's a good way to end the daf. Says the Gemara, Machmas Rishon heichi nafel. How does Mark fall because of Marshall? I mean, Marshall fell, and then Abi fell on him, and Mark was first encountered Abi. So how does he fall on how does he not fall on Abi but fall on Marshall? Says the Gemara, Rapapa Amar de Poskala Urche Keshilda, because Marshall blocked the road. Excuse the comparison. Marshall blocked the road like a carcass. In other words, he lied across the whole road. Rav Zvid uses another metaphor because he doesn't want to compare Marshall to a carcass. Kuchutra de Samyusa, like the stick that a blind person walks around with. He walks around with a stick. It's a big stick, and he fell across the road like a big stick. Look at Mark, he finds the metaphor funny. He fell across the road like a big stick, and that's how he missed Abi, but he fell over Marshall. Okay, Rabbi say, I did the Mishnah Yomis already. It is on TorahAnytime.com. It is on YouTube and Kol Haloshen and Facebook. We're going to learn a chok now.